Hey everybody, JC Peretz here, and I am here with my man Louis Sykes, and we are stoked. Mr. Louis, thank you for being here.
Of course, JC, just super happy to talk about crypto markets. It's a lot going on. So I'm just hyped. Let's get into it.
So Louis is in New Zealand, right? I know you guys love his sexy accent and everything like that. So Louis has graced us with his presence because, I don't want to be like dramatic or anything like that, but like when we talk about emergency state of the crypto markets, but like seriously, if the biggest risk, in my opinion, is not having enough exposure to crypto, not being long enough, not allocating as much time and energy in the crypto markets as perhaps one should. And first of all, it starts right here. It's myself. There have been certain times over the years where I'm spending a lot of my time in crypto markets, and there have been other times throughout the last several years where I've virtually ignored it completely for the most part. There's a time and a place, and I have never been more bullish on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin than I am now. And Louis, I know, there's a lot of young kids out there, yourself included. I was orange pilled in 2014. So I've been following crypto markets very closely, owned it for over a decade, and I've never been this bullish today. I can be honest and say that. That's actually true. You think I'm crazy or am I spot on?
That is a hell of a statement right there. You've never been more bullish crypto than in this moment right now. And let me tell you, I'm really in the weeds with all this stuff. I spend my days looking at charts, finding the best ideas, and I share the exact same sentiment. And I know it sounds a little bit of a cliche, but it's really true. It's really impossible to not be aggressively bullish with everything that's happened. So that's why I'm just so excited to talk to you about it today.
No question. And listen, I've been I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had my own exuberance, and I have to check myself regularly, probably to a fault. I'm always thinking. So when I'm talking about like, wow, like this is real, like, I have to think to myself, is it though? Is this really real, or am I just being dramatic? Right. And I think that the data overwhelmingly points to we have to really allocate resources, money, time, and attention towards cryptocurrencies. There's no question. So let's get into it. What are we going to talk about today, Louis? We're going to talk about the crypto market just beginning. We're just getting going.
Yep, just getting going. We've done absolutely nothing in this asset class now for months, but now it's finally exploding higher. And so the bull market, in my view, is only just beginning. And so you've got Bitcoin breaking out. And now what we want to talk about is some of the stock plays downstream. And then we also want to talk about all the individual cryptocurrencies that we're looking at right now, just because there's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah, so the beauty of this Bitcoin situation, breaking out to new all-time highs, as you can see here, is that the best way to take advantage of this secular bull market in cryptocurrencies and in Bitcoin is not by buying Bitcoin, right? There's a lot more money to be made downstream, both in the actual cryptocurrencies with lower market caps, right? Where you can get a 10x, 50, 15x, 50x, or more, obviously, as we've seen, and also in the stocks themselves, right? So you can take advantage of the crypto markets in the equities market as well as on chain. So we've been waiting for this breakout for quite some time. It's an inside joke here where every time I talk to Louis, I'm like, Louis, when moon, right? That's how the kids ask when the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. When moon? That's how they say. So this is the answer to when Trump got elected president. Is it that simple?
It's just so textbook, right? What a classic catalyst. I've got my telescope behind me, not sure if you can see it, but that's because we're going to the moon. Just look at this chart. It is beautiful. You get this all-time high right as Trump wins. Like, the market has been pricing in this development, and now that it finally happens, we've got the pump, we've got the breakout, and we've got the confirmation, and we're ready to go, baby.
This reminds me a lot of breakouts we see after earnings. Like you see a consolidation and then you'll get a breakout to new highs, kind of like Palantir recently. it jumps that resistance on the earnings call. Like, I understand cryptocurrencies don't have earnings, but the behavior of markets is actually very similar. As you can see here, there's Bitcoin after Trump's victory. I love this chart. This is a Louis classic right here. You should sign this one. People don't sign charts. Like, this is a great chart, Louis.
That.
Last time Trump was elected president, Bitcoin shot up. We're seeing the exact same thing now. You're saying this is not just a coincidence?
Absolutely not. And it's nothing to do with really just making a political statement. It's just looking at objective reality, just looking at the data. It's not my belief. It's not my view. It's just what's happening.
All right. So this this is the most important. To me, this is it. I am a technical analyst through and through. And I am analyzing the behavior of the market and therefore market participants. I'm looking for headwinds and tailwinds. I'm looking for sentiment extremes on both directions. I'm doing this time and time again. But now that we have deregulation as a tailwind in an asset class that's only $2.5 trillion, for perspective, the stock market in America is 55 trillion. Globally is about 110 trillion. The bond market's about 130 trillion. Currency market's 4 quadrillion. Cryptocurrency is $2.5 trillion. It's nothing. It's a rounding error in the whole scheme of things with respects to global financial assets. I don't think a lot of people really truly understand that. When we talk about numbers like $2.5 trillion in total market capitalization in cryptocurrencies, like, that sounds like a lot, and it is. Don't get me wrong, it is. It's certainly a lot more than it's been in the past, of course. But in the whole scheme of things, it's a rounding error. The fact that now the deregulation is in place, the tailwind that can move something so small, it doesn't take much. And that, aside from all of these monster bases being completed and all these cryptocurrencies and breadth expanding and all the traditional analysis that we do in across markets, a tailwind like this, Louis, cannot be understated.
Absolutely. People look at the 2017, what I call the mainstream adoption and ICO craze. And so they look at what happened there. You had all these cryptocurrencies had significant, massive, astronomical gains. And they say, well, we're not actually going to go back to that because that was just a relic of the past. That was just that cycle. But I just so disagree, because the institutions are in, the biggest players in the world are making their bets. And now that they're in, you're starting to see that deregulation happen within the crypto space. And so the catalyst is there. It's ready to really just explode higher.
I remember in 2017, I remember being in San Diego talking to Meltem Demirors, who's just a legend in crypto space early on, very right. And I remember talking to her about it, and I was bullish Bitcoin. I owned Bitcoin. This is like early 2017. And I remember talking to her, I'm like, but the institutions aren't in, Meltem. Like, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant because the institutions aren't in. I owned Bitcoin. I was bullish Bitcoin, but I was like, I remember explaining to her, and like, she was like she was agreeing with me, but it was kind of like you're right. Like, it is so meaningless. That has totally changed in the last cycle. You got complete institutional adoption. You've got ETFs now. I mean, like, it's a whole other thing. Institutions are in. Institutions can only get more involved, right? There's no ETF ever in history that has seen this kind of inflows ever. It's not even close. So institutional adoption is here. And now the deregulation, Louis, I mean, you want to talk about real tailwinds? I mean, that to me is where it's all out. So, okay. So what have we talked about? New secular bull market in crypto. You've got institutional adoption. You've got the deregulation behind us. But the best way to make money in cryptocurrencies is not Bitcoin. And I love how you start with Ethereum here.
Exactly. Well, you need to start somewhere, right? So you got Bitcoin at the top, then Ethereum below. And as you work your way down, as you get smaller and smaller and smaller, the opportunity to make more money increases in a bull market. And so, again, I come back to the fact that this is not our belief. This is actually happening. Ethereum is breaking out of this multi-month base, and now it looks just so ready to rip towards its former highs. And I've marked there. it's another 40% gain to its highs that it achieved earlier in the year. But I just want to get some perspective here because that 40% turns into 400% when you go down the cap scale. So that's what I want to do today.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there because we talk about relative strength a lot around here, and Ethereum is the opposite of relative strength. Ethereum's actually been an underperformer. So when you have, but it's the second largest cryptocurrency. So when you have something like this participating, that 40% turns into 400 down the cap scale. I love that,
Yeah.
Louis. Well done. Well done. Now
And
walk me through the futures market. So now we're combining cryptocurrencies with what's happening in the futures market.
yeah, precisely. And this is another big reason why I'm just so bullish, right? The smart money is in, but the dumb money isn't. And so you have a look at what happened in February and March earlier this year. You had so much exuberance, so much optimism and greed, people taking leverage and people, increasing their long positions. And what happens? The market puts in its top and crypto's an absolute disaster for the next 6 months. But now we're back to these former levels. There's no exuberance whatsoever, no frothiness. And in actuality, it's almost denial where people are just not believing this breakout. And I just love that where sentiment is bearish, but price is bullish. That is fantastic.
So, you know, originally since day one, what we've done around here is analyze markets, using technical analysis and behavioral, but it's the inner market work that we have done since day one that has been instrumental in the success that we've had. This is exactly that in a relatively new asset class, right?
I mean, JC, I'm a Kiwi, and so it's very hard to brag. We're a very humble people, right? Just at the bottom of the world, nothing really going on. But I do like to almost brag about just how well we blend technical analysis with all this new data that we've got in the futures market, on the blockchain. And so the end result is that the ideas that we're talking about are really high conviction because they're supported by so much evidence. And so this next chart that I want you to show
This
is just
this
another
is great.
example of that. And
This is great.
so this chart is basically answering the question, where are we in the cycle? Are we at the end or are we at the beginning? Now, if you look at Bitcoin making all-time highs, you might come to the conclusion that, well, we're at the end of the cycle. But that could not be any further from the truth. In actuality, we're nowhere near the top, right? And so what we're tracking here is essentially how much unrealized profits people are holding. It makes sense that when people hold a lot of unrealized profits, when they've got a lot of profits on the table, that generally occurs near market tops. But that isn't happening right now, right? People are only holding modest profits on the table. And so this points to the fact that we're probably closer to the middle of the cycle, which then when you extend that means that there's a lot more room for upside.
So in traditional finance, when you see buyers and sellers transacting in the market, you don't know whether those buyers and sellers are taking profits, whether they're taking losses. You have no idea. But in crypto, because of the blockchain, everything is transparent. We know whether those wallets are taking profits or they're taking losses. So we have this whole other layer of data that we can add to the price data to help us gauge market sentiment. And I shouldn't say, you can argue this is market sentiment, but it's probably more positioning is really what it's more about, isn't it?
Yeah, precisely. And so I think one thing we can both agree on is that just things look great. We're on the cusp of a new bull market. And so that just brings the question, what do we do with that? How do we make money off of this trend? And so there's actually a lot of traditional stock vehicles, so just traditional stocks that are in the crypto industry that are really well positioned in a future bull market. And so what I'm looking at here is simply a ratio between Bitcoin mining stocks and Bitcoin. And so really simply, when this black line is going up, it means that Bitcoin mining stocks are outperforming Bitcoin. And when this line is going down, it means that Bitcoin mining stocks are underperforming Bitcoin. And now the reason why I'm looking at this is because these Bitcoin mining stocks, they have a tendency to massively, massively outperform in bull markets. And so if Bitcoin's going to 100K, these Bitcoin mining stocks aren't just going to go up 20, 30, 40%, they're going to go up 2x, 3x, 4x, and even more than that. And so this is a really good industry that I'm looking at to get some exposure to this new bull market.
And then, I mean, when I trade these things every day with you, Louis, so I'm very familiar. But some people, they might think Mara and Riot. There's a lot of different things happening in the cryptocurrency markets. In the stock market specifically, there's about a dozen or more, 15 stocks or so that can express a bullish thesis in cryptocurrencies. TeraWulf has been one of the biggest winners.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't take our word for it. Just look at these price charts. It's up 120% in a month. And then you have a look at this next one, Bit Digital breaking out. If it gets back to these former highs, we're looking at a 600% return. And that would not be unheard of in a bull market.
No, quite the opposite. It would actually be surprising if that was not happening.
Yeah, it would be incredibly regular and normal.
Yeah, and then one thing that I'd like to add is with respects to these market caps, most of these things are, close to $1 billion, $2 billion in market capitalization, 3 billion, 4 billion. So you don't have to go you don't have to be buying penny stocks. Like there's some liquidity in the options market in some of these names as well. But we're here, but it's the cryptocurrency. I respect the fact that Louis comes all the way from New Zealand to talk to us about TradFi markets, talking about the futures, talking about the stock market. I love how you did that there, but we're talking about cryptos today. It is Crypto Friday after all, and this is a crypto bull market. So let's get into some of these.
Yeah.
The question I get all the time, Louis, I don't know what these things do. It's just a Ponzi scheme, da 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 da. Like, why don't you school these folks?
Well, JC, look, I grew up in New Zealand and we live a very simple life. I like things when they're simple. But what I feel like the crypto industry hasn't done a very good job at is just educating people what the hell all these cryptocurrencies do. And so let's say that you tell me, hey, Louis, I own a materials company, or I own a financials or a semiconductor stock. I instantly know what that stock or that company does. I kind of get a general gist of what their business model does. But when someone says, hey, Louis, I own a cross-chain interoperability token. Exactly. What do you do with that information? What does that do? What is its use case?
What are all those words you use in the same sentence?
What's that, sorry?
It's like, what are all those words that you use in the same sentence?
And so no wonder why people don't know what all these tokens do and how to take advantage of these trends. And so what I've done here is just take a step back. And like in the stock market, how there's all these sectors and industry groups, I've done the same thing for the crypto markets. But I've explained them in really simple terms that anybody can understand. And then from there, just creating visuals to know what the strongest sectors are and what the best areas are to make money. And so what we're looking at here is just all the crypto sectors that I've essentially created. And then I'm gauging their performance over the last 3 months. And so we can see here, it's a heat map between red and blue. Now, the more blue something is, the better it's performed. The more red it is, the worse it's performed. And now we're looking at over the last 3 months. So you can clearly see that meme coins are just dark blue. And so instantly within a second, you understand, okay, the meme coins are the strongest sector. And I kind of understand what they do because they're involved in jokes on the internet. There we go. You see how easy that was, JC?
It really is, because somebody even though I was orange pilled in 2014 and been following the crypto markets, I'm like an OG TradFi bro through and through. Like you said before, it's in the financials, it's in the energy, it's in the utilities. I have a vague idea of what the type of company it is, material stock. I get it. Gold miner, right? I'm fully on board. But with crypto, it's less obvious, particularly as you're going down the cap scale. Things get a lot more complicated. So when you can explain it like this is great. Number one. Number two, more importantly, for me, I don't care so much what they do. I'm looking for the relative strength. If the relative strength is in the networking tokens, then so be it. If it's in the meme tokens, then so be it, right? Like I personally don't care where the strength is. Just like in the stock market, I don't necessarily care where the strength is, as long as I own the strongest ones. There's an old classic in TradFi, traditional finance, that goes like this. is that if you want, the only way to make sure that you own the best stocks is to buy the best stocks, right? Classic. The same thing applies here. And kudos to you because Louis does a great job of these visualizations. I don't have that kind of talent, so kudos to you. But having the ability to go and find the relative strength with a visual like this, nobody's doing this. Like this doesn't exist because like traditional finance people like are not in the crypto markets. They're not doing this kind of analysis. And then like newcomers to crypto markets don't have that financial, institutional experience to know to do this, right? So between, our whole team and then you having the ability to visualize it like this is fantastic. I always say the world needs more bubble charts. And here's a great one, Louis.
Well, thank you, JC. Appreciate that. And so what we're looking at here is we're looking at the exact same thing as the previous chart before. So we're looking at all of these crypto sectors, but then we're actually looking at the individual holdings. And so while the previous chart was just looking at the indexes at the index level that I've created, here we're looking at the real world individual cryptocurrencies within all these sectors. And so again, within 2 seconds, you can easily look to see what the strongest sectors are within crypto. And then from there, what the strongest individual tokens are within all those sectors. And so this just makes it so easy for you to get exposure to the strongest names within crypto, which makes those 2, 3, 4x's a lot more achievable and obtainable.
All right. So for those of you listening at home and are thinking, a lot of this sounds like a lot of the stuff that we do in the stock market, it's because it is. This is the exact same thing that the largest financial institutions in the world are doing in the stock market. You know why I know that? Because the largest financial institutions in the world come to us for this analysis. We're literally doing the same thing in crypto markets. And the fact that we have even more data in crypto than we do in traditional finance just gives us such a huge advantage. I can only dream that in the commodities market and in the stock market, we had the transparency that we have in the crypto markets. It truly is a blessing, but we have to take advantage of that. Obviously we are, but like to not would be foolish. So I want to get into a couple of the meme tokens, right? So you can see this top-down approach. So, step 1, crypto's in a bull market. Step 2, look for the relative strength in the meme coins. Step 3, which meme coins do we want to own? Same thing in the stock market. We talked about TerraWolf and some of these others. How about FWOG just continuing to do well? This is a new ICO, relatively new. My understanding from the folks is that this is the next dog with hat. I guess we'll see whether it is or whether it isn't. Popcat, another one. It's funny that I didn't even do this on purpose. What I've noticed by observing and participating in these markets is that, Popcat existed to be the next bonk. Like literally, what is Popcat? It's literally the next bonk. That's what it was. And Popcat exceeded Bonk's market capitalization. So it actually fulfilled what it was meant to do, which is fascinating that you see this in crypto markets. FWOG is literally designed to be the next dog with hat. So, and again, I say this like funny, haha, because it is funny, but like these things are working. And, at one point or another, they will stop working. And at one point or another, they will see severe declines. We know, right? We know. And you'll see that in the stock market too, by the way. And you'll see it in the bond market. And not everything goes up forever and not everything goes down forever, right? Ups and downs. And right now it's a time that is up. What about SUI? SUI's got a real market capitalization, folks. Louis, school us on SUI and what's happening here.
That's a real big one. And so this goes back to the visualization I showed before. SUI stood out. It was one of those dots all the way on the right-hand side. So I was like, oh, let's have a look at this chart. And this is what it is. It makes it so easy to know where the relative strength is. So again, all-time highs. There's nothing to not like about this. And this is just exactly the type of chart that you want to be looking at. And so if Bitcoin's going to be breaking out and heading to 100K, something like SUI is going to offer so much more relative strength just because it's down the cap scale. And you can clearly see the relative strength just looking at the y-axis going from 50 cents to $2 at 4xing within the space of a few months. That's crazy. And the Bitcoin bull market hasn't even got started yet.
And this is a $6 billion market cap, by the way, guys. So like if you're wondering, how small is it, how big, there's plenty of liquidity. 6 billion in market cap is not nothing, but it's only 6 billion. If Bitcoin's going to 100,000, I mean, you're looking at a 3-4x in this one from here, right? And that's just like now. Like what happens after that, we'll see. But as you see these particular tokens climbing up the rankings, they really get on our radar. Sui's just a great example of a recent one making new all-time highs. And then Louis, investors and traders all over the world that are looking to access this information have the ability to do so through All-Star Charge Crypto. Walk us through what everybody's receiving as a member of All-Star Charge Crypto.
Yeah, so we walk through the crypto markets every single day, every week, in real simple language. What's happening within the crypto markets? What do you need to know? What's noise and what do you not need to know? Because let's face it, there's a lot of that in crypto. And so we just focus on what's most important and deliver you the most highest conviction research. And so looking at the broad crypto markets and then working our way down the cap scale, looking at all these individual tokens, seeing what the hottest sectors are, and then identifying trades so we can express our bullish thesis and ultimately make money, which is why we're all here at the end of the day, right?
All right, so members of All-Star Charge Crypto get 3 weekly research reports. More importantly, in my opinion, just having an overall guideline of whether we want to be more bullish, which obviously in this case we clearly are, whether we want to be more bearish or perhaps more neutral. The weekly trade ideas are great because you're getting the entry points and you're getting the exit levels, right? So we want to know exactly where we're getting in, when we're getting in and out, and not to mention the alerts, right? Being able to be alerted when these things are happening so that you can take advantage in real time. And of course, direct access to Mr. Louis Sykes. Any questions that you might have, we are running a special. $14.99 for the year is a steal. Literally one trade pays for itself. And of course, just a lifetime membership. I could tell you guys by watching the institutional adoption, by watching the deregulation before our very eyes, by speaking to founders and developers in this space practically every single day, I could tell you that there are serious people building serious things, and crypto is not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger. There are only going to be more opportunities. And I could tell you, facts only, there is no better information and data and set of trade ideas on the planet outside of All-Star Charge Crypto. I know that for a fact because we've looked. We've looked, and there's a reason why we had to build all this stuff, and it wasn't easy. It would be so much easier to just, get some data, subscribe to somebody, but it doesn't work that way. So we had to do it ourselves, and man, am I proud of it. And Louis says, well, us Kiwis, we're very humble. Louis, you really, really do great work. You really, really do.
Thank you, Jason. That means a lot. And it's there's a lot of work that goes into decodifying crypto. And so I'm just really happy just to be breaking it down and at the end of the day, just delivering real simple insights.
Decodifying crypto. I like what you did there. Of course, guys, this is a 30-day risk-free trial that you can participate in, so you have no risk and everything to gain, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, I've been, I shouldn't say entrenched in crypto for a decade. That's not right, but I have been actively participating in crypto for over a decade, more so over the last prior cycles. And I can tell you for a fact that I have never been more bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies at any point. And I got to tell you, I've been pretty bullish in the past. And, a lot of these bullish times were within certain time frames. Like, yeah, I think we break out above 30 and I go to 70, on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies do well, sure. But from a structural standpoint, being able to zoom out and say, wow, we have just entered a secular bull market in cryptocurrencies. Like, some call it the banana zone. Like, we're nowhere near the banana zone. And we quantify the sentiment, and we're nowhere near extremes in sentiment. I truly, truly believe that we're just getting started. The tailwinds of deregulation is something that has never existed. This amount of institutional adoption in cryptocurrencies has never, ever existed. And quite frankly, in the conversations that I'm having and seeing what the people are building, this is next level. So if cryptocurrencies currently are at $2.5 trillion, getting that to 10 is a slam dunk in my opinion this cycle. $10 trillion in cryptocurrencies is going to provide so much opportunity, and being able to use a top-down approach, starting with the macro and then breaking it down to only the best opportunities. I don't think anybody in the business does it as well as All Star Charts Crypto. I could say that from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, totally agree. And I've been working with you for a long time now, JC, and it's incredibly rare to hear you speak like this, that you've never been more bullish. And so, folks, that's saying something.
It is saying something. It is. I don't throw that around very often, but that is an outright fact based on the weight of the evidence. It's hard not to be, Louis. So, ladies and gentlemen, All Star Charts Crypto, $14.99 for the year. I think it's a no-brainer. If you're in this for the long haul, like we are, we don't think it's going anywhere. It's here to stay, and we've been here with crypto from the start. We're still here. And it's only getting better because now we have more data than we ever have in prior cycles. So it's fantastic. So folks, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. We'll see you there inside ASC Crypto. Mr. Louis Sykes, live from New Zealand. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you, JC, and thank you guys for joining us.
All right, adios.
Adios.